Hello and welcome to We Poets. My name is Sally Baker and I'm the host of We Poets. We Poets is a poetry show for boys and girls between the ages of 6 and 13. So if you would like to be on the program, please have your parents call me. I'm always looking for guests and poets to come and be on the program. Tonight we have a very special program. We are filming tonight at La Pena Cultural Center in Berkeley, California. My special guest for tonight is Dr. Vicki Alexander. She is retired, and she's going to tell us about a wonderful agency here in Berkeley called Healthy Black Families, and she's the board president. But on my right here, I have her granddaughter, a pretty young lady, and she's a writer, and she has written a poem and a story, and she's going to be interviewed first and tell us all about herself. Hello, young lady.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Great. Could you look there at camera 3 and tell us your name and how old you are and where you go to school, please?
My name is Samaya Marie Haynes. I am 14 years old and I go to school at Nia Community Learning Center.
Great. And you were on the show many years ago, right? When you were just a little girl.
Yeah.
And you're such a pretty young lady now. I'm very proud of you. Now, first of all, I have a couple of questions for you. How did you become a writer, and how do you write poems and short stories?
I became a writer. I just always liked to fill in notebooks and write in empty spaces, be very creative that way. But I started being more productive with my writing after I joined the writing circles with my grandmother. So that's kind of how it all started.
And what's the name of the writing circle that you belong to?
It's called Stories Black Women Never Tell.
Great. And you have a book here? Would you hold it up there and tell us, when was this published?
This was published just a few months ago. Actually, we had our book selling party or release party.
Wonderful. And what's the poem or story you're going to read for us tonight?
It's called A Thin Line Between White and Black.
And who's it about?
My mom and my sister.
Okay.
And myself.
Be our guest, please.
Okay. My mom always knew she was mixed, but she also very clearly knew she was black. Not only in her biological background, but for as long as I can remember, she fought for us. It was hard for her, I could tell. She walked into a makeup store and rarely struggled to find her foundation color. Must be nice. She would be underestimated in her African American studies classes until it came time to contribute to the class discussions. Then and only then you could tell she was black. When she left the house with me and my thick, kinky, curly poofs and rich chocolate skin, people thought she was my nanny. I guess it's surprising when your mom's hair is bone straight or she can put on a perfect white girl accent. It broke her when one day I asked, "Mommy, why am I not white like you?" It hurt her when the lady at the grocery store said to her, "Wow, your daughter is so pretty to be a dark-skinned girl." It broke her because, though she was light on the outside, she was raised by a black man, a dark, tall, and handsome black man. She found beauty in his darkness, so it pained her to hear even remotely disparaging remarks about any rich skin in melanin, and most certainly skin that she had birthed. I remember one day I took my sister with me to Starbucks after school. We were in line, and a white woman had come in and cut us in line. I whispered somewhat under my breath, "White privilege." Layla repeated it max volume, and the woman turned around. I didn't even start it. She only glared at Layla, and then at me. "You really shouldn't teach her that," I responded. "You gave us an amazing demonstration." Layla, Nicole, and I skipped down the street, home, taking breaks for her to sip her hot chocolate on that cold, rainy day. We agreed to keep our little secret. I felt really bad. Layla had to see that. But contradiction took over, and I hated white people. Just for that day, until I went home and realized I'm half of that too, but I cannot abuse my white privilege. There goes contradiction, because why would I want to?
That's it. Wonderful. Very deep, very deep. And what else do you like to write about?
A lot of different emotions, whatever I'm feeling in the moment. Kind of depends.
Good. Do you carry a notebook with you so when you get ideas you can jot it down?
Yeah.
And at night, when you maybe wake up at night, you have a notebook by your bedside? Great.
I have 2 separate ones.
Great, great. Now let's see here. What other books have your stories been published in beside this one?
This and the second volume were the only two so far, but my mother and I are trying to write another one together.
Great. Now, have you and your grandmother written anything together?
Not yet.
Not yet. And your grandmother is such a wonderful, outstanding woman. What do you admire most about your grandmother?
Persistence.
Persistence.
And she's very demanding in a good way.
In a good way. That's good. Have you traveled anywhere with your grandmother or your mother or your parents?
Not very far, but locally.
Where have you gone?
Yosemite, lots of places that are like natural habitats and yeah, stuff like that.
Now let's see here. Would you like to read us another story, or just? Well, tell us some more about yourself. What are your extracurricular activities?
I stopped playing basketball because I got injured, but that used to be a good one. And what else? I like to stay after school and help teachers or tutor students when I have the ability or time.
What subject do you tutor in?
Mostly English. That's my favorite subject.
Good. And what age children do you tutor?
People in my grade.
In your grade? In your what grade?
Ninth.
Ninth grade. And what school do you go to?
New Community Learning Center.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one. That's
by the college, Alameda College.
Oh, really? So you have a ways to go to school every day.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. Now tell me about some of the other things that are going on in school. What are some of the problems that you think young people in middle school and high school are having today?
There's still a lot of bullying going on, which is a very big reoccurring problem. So there's nothing too different. It's just high school, I guess.
Yes, I've interviewed a lot of people about bullying, and it seems to go in all the schools and what have you, you know, not only in schools, but in the workplace too, you know. Now, have you traveled anywhere outside of the United States?
Not outside of the United States, but I may go to Africa or Japan in the summer.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. With a student group?
No, just by myself.
Just alone? All alone?
In Japan, yeah.
Wow.
Alone.
I think one of our interns is going to go to Japan maybe this summer. Maybe you can talk to her afterwards, and maybe you could join their group.
Sure.
And you wouldn't have to go alone. Do you speak Japanese?
No.
You're going to have to learn, right, a little bit?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. Was there anything else you'd like to tell us about you before I interview your grandmother?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, I certainly appreciate you coming. You did a wonderful job, and I'm very, very proud of you. And we're going to hear from you the last 5 minutes of your grandmother's interview. Thank you. Okay. Welcome back to the second half of We Poets. My name is Sally Baker, and I'm the host. I would now like to introduce you to my very special guest for tonight. Her name is Dr. Vicki Alexander, and she's going to tell us all about this wonderful nonprofit organization that she is the president of the board of, and something about her background and her writing. Hello, Dr. Alexander. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Sally. Thank you very much for having us back.
Yes. Didn't your granddaughter do a wonderful job?
Yes, she's quite an inspiration to me.
Yes, and I'm sure she takes that after you, right?
I don't know. The writing part is really Samaya.
Really?
It's because of her writing that I have been engaged in trying to write my own memoirs.
How many books have you published?
How many books have I? I have published within 3 books. This is actually published by Healthy Black Families. We had the first volume called What We Carry, Stories Black Women Never Tell. That's volume 1. The second volume, volume 2, I'm in that one also. Same title, but volume 2. So it's What We Carry, Stories Black Women Never Tell. And the third volume that just came out this year, Samaya mentioned it earlier.
Yes.
Again, the same title, but volume 3, and I am in all 3 volumes.
Wonderful.
She just has inspired me so much that I am continuing to pull my stories together so that I actually have a memoir, a book, a full book.
Good for you. And does your daughter write also?
My daughter is a very good writer, yes. Not as good as my granddaughter, not as good as Samaya, but good. and also a good role model.
Now, did writing take place in your family? Is that where you got this inspiration?
Hardly ever.
Really?
My father only went to the 4th grade. My mother went to the 12th grade, no college in either side.
Really?
And they didn't write very much, but they spoke.
Oh.
They were speakers on podiums in different parts of the country for different issues for all of their lives.
Really?
Both of them, yes. And so I learned how to be a speaker as opposed to a writer. So this is relatively new to me.
Really? What state were you born and raised in?
I was born in California.
Oh, really?
And raised in California the whole time.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
wonderful. Now I'm going to ask you some questions here about the nonprofit organization.
Yes.
For our audience of youth, why did you want to become a doctor?
Well, that's a little bit of a story. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to be until I was about 3 or 4 years old. And the way that happened is at that time I lived on a farm.
Oh.
And my job was milking the goats.
Milking the goats?
Yes.
Oh.
One of my jobs. Slopping the pigs and feeding the chickens.
Yes.
And yeah, those were my 3 jobs. But milking the goats was the one I really liked.
Oh.
You produced the milk and you drank the milk and it was just great. However, one day the goat hit me.
Oh.
Kicked me.
Kicked you?
Kicked me and hurt me. So I had to run to Uncle Mark and tell him that I can't finish milking the goat because the goat kicked me and hurt me.
Yes.
So he came with me to see, this was a very calm goat usually.
Oh.
And the goat's baby was halfway out.
Oh.
So Uncle Mark and I delivered our first baby.
Oh.
And after that, I knew I wanted to be an obstetrician. I knew I wanted to deliver babies.
Oh.
And so it's history from then on. It was a struggle. And I'll read a story about it, but it was a struggle to get to be a doctor.
Now,
But
what
yes.
hospitals did you work at?
I trained at San Francisco General, and that's associated with UC
Yes.
San Francisco.
Yes.
And then I went back east, and I worked at Harlem Hospital, and that's associated with Columbia University.
Yes.
And then I kind of joined the nonprofit world, servicing women, and joined something called the Community Family Planning Council, became a medical director, and then decided to study public health, which actually brought my family history of activism and talking on top of stools and things like that together with my medical knowledge. And that's what brought us to today with the current Healthy Black Families. I actually came to Berkeley, back from Harlem Hospital. I came back here, and my first and only public health job was with the city of Berkeley.
Oh.
So I was a director of maternal child health and then health officer for the city of Berkeley.
Heaven's sake.
For a while, yeah. For
So how
11
many people
years.
did you supervise?
Oh,
Countless people, huh?
too many, too many. I actually did keep track of how many babies I had to deliver, and it was over 5,000 babies.
5,000 babies?
A lot of babies.
Wow.
And one of the stories I wrote about in the book is all the different places where I delivered, because I used to travel the world over. So I delivered babies in South Africa, in Kenya, in El Salvador, in Nicaragua, and in Korea. I mean, I really traveled a lot before I got married and had to settle down. So I really enjoyed those deliveries, and I'm very proud that I had the chance to be able to deliver babies with all the special stuff that we have in this country.
Oh, yes. And I suppose in some of the third world countries where they don't have all the equipment that we have here in America,
That's right.
It was difficult and very challenging for you.
Right.
Which country was the
It was
most
really
difficult
good.
that you had to deliver the babies?
The most difficult was El Salvador. I was there for 3 months in the maternity hospital there. And unfortunately, the women came in so fast. There were lots and lots and lots of women in labor at the same time. They were just on gurneys in the hall.
Oh, no.
And it was in the public hospital. So it was a maternity hospital. It wasn't like a social security hospital or a private hospital. And there's a real difference in the way people were treated in the different hospitals. So the women in this public hospital, it was like they were just cattle, just animals. Just get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out.
Terrible.
And it was just a very difficult experience. And I have to center myself every time I think about it. And there was war going on.
Oh, which war was that?
It was during the war. It was in 1976. So it was a war against the government that was in. They were trying to get them out. So I forget all the names.
Oh,
but
yes.
the bottom line was because of that, a lot of the women were injured also.
Oh,
that
no.
Came. And so it was a very sad delivery experience, but a very important one, yes.
Did many of the women have multiple births or just single births?
There were a few twins, a couple triplets.
Did any of the babies die that you helped to
yes.
deliver?
Yes.
Lots of them.
Yes,
huh?
lots of them there.
Oh, that's sad. That's
Lots of
sad.
them.
Yes.
So-
Well, let's see what my next question is here for you. How old? Oh, no, that was your granddaughter. Don't need to know your age. I know you're over 18.
I won't tell you but I could if you really want to know.
Now, let's see. Now, if someone wanted to contact the Healthy Black Families and become a part of this book project, what would they do?
Right. They would call the office, and then they would say, I'm interested in telling my story. And then they would be directed to the appropriate person. Right now, we're hiring a person to actually do it because I was the person coordinating that program for the last year, and all these 3 of these books, I was involved in their production.
I see.
But we're hiring someone now because we got funding for it.
Oh, good.
It's a very good program. So you ask for, it's going to be Debbie. You ask for Debbie, and she'll help you.
Now, where are you located?
We're located at 3356 Adeline Street, right down, you know where Sweet Adelines is?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, they're right, we're 2 doors down from Sweet Adelines. And
Now-
it's Healthy Black Families.
Good. Now, what are some of the other activities that take place? Like, do they take place during the week or on the
Yes.
weekends?
Oh, we're doing things all the time.
Every day?
Every day something's going on. We do a lot of different kinds of classes, cooking classes, classes for women who just had a baby on how to breastfeed, on how to nourish the child, how to cook food for the child. We do a lot of stuff, and it's very exciting because in the process, the women become very empowered by having more knowledge, taking care of their kids, seeing things happen, you know, and the kid grow and all of that. And that's our goal. Our goal is to actually empower women through education and through community building, which is not just telling people what to do, but involving them in the process. So at a certain point, they learn things and they bring it back to us. So it's really a very beautiful process.
Now, people would have to call you if they wanted to come down and take a tour.
Oh, yes, they'd have to call. So the number to call, I'm sorry, I don't know it by heart,
Oh,
but from
let's
your
see, here
page
it
here,
is.
it's 510-285-6689. I do want to save a minute to read one story.
Oh, yes,
Because
please.
it talks about the trials and tribulations of trying to become a doctor.
Oh,
was
yes.
not easy.
I'm sure, and being a black woman, too.
And a black woman. At
I'm
that
sure
time,
it was very difficult at that
At
time.
that time, when I started college, I was the only black woman in the school.
And what, you said UC
It's a
Berkeley?
UC Riverside.
Oh,
when I went
Riverside.
to- yes,
Oh.
undergraduate. So the way this works is we have a motivational coach writer that works with us, and there's 10 to 15 women in the room.
I see.
And she gives us a prompt. She'll tell us something. So the particular prompt here for this one was, where is that prompt? Confused but clear. Okay, the title of my part was called Confused but Clear, but her prompt was just, I can't find it. I won't even read the prompt.
Okay, we'll go
Sorry.
right ahead.
I was confused but clear. The prompts for this writing were presented as a choice. We could either write about skin color or we could write about the wild card. This seemed complicated, but in my case, I viewed the 2 possibilities as the same or complementary. I used my light-skinned color to get by and passed for white during the years of 1959 to 63 while in undergraduate school. At the same time, just a few years later, I was feeling like I wanted to be in the Black Panther Party. But due to my light skin, I didn't quite belong. I was jealous that my sister, 3 shades darker than me, became a leader in the Panthers and was sent as an emissary to Japan along with Big Man, who was the editor of the Panther newspaper. They were sent to make friends with different politically progressive groups in Japan, and I was jealous. Of course, this is ridiculous, because at the time, 69 to 73, I was in medical school, struggling and had no money. I was in a sorry state. I felt sad and isolated and downright dumb some of the time. What did skin color have to do with it? Everything. I was feeling inferior, internalized racism. I had attended Manual Arts High School in Los Angeles. Very few people in this school, almost all black at the time, dreamed of being doctors. We were told the manual skills or teaching skills would get us good jobs. Then, after high school, I attended the University of California at Riverside from 59 to 63. I was the only black in my entering class and was often taunted due to my frizzy, kinky hair. So I straightened my hair to pass for white. Buried my head in the books and tried to get good grades. This was another form of internalized racism. To make it more complicated, my first husband was from Korea.
Oh.
Yellow skin. He was an alcoholic who developed brain cancer and eventually passed away in 74. I blamed myself for the inability to differentiate behavior due to brain cancer from behavior due to alcoholism. This was another form of feeling inferior. My second husband was a Black Panther, and the beat goes on. At least at this point, my racial identity was clear. I am black and will be forever. And then the ultimate twist in my confusion was when my adopted daughter did research for a paper in her sociology class. The topic of the paper was the family lineage of her adopted parents. She worked hard on my side of the family. She discovered that my mother's heritage was Jewish, Lithuanian, Russian. My father's heritage was Irish and U.S. black, a freed slave, and possibly some Blackfoot Indian living on the reservation in Omaha. So my ethnic origin is about 80% white, 15% black, and maybe 5% Native American. Socially and consciously, I am black. Is this skin color or is this the wild card?
Wow. What a story. Oh, you are a fantastic woman.
It's so much fun writing these stories.
I
It's
can
so much fun.
imagine. And have you taken pictures of these different countries that you travel to?
Yes.
And do you correspond with any of the people?
Yes, yes. And that's why we have some contacts in Japan that she talked about. And we have contacts in Africa that she talked about. So we have people in many places that we could visit and do things with.
Isn't this great?
Yeah.
And now while you were traveling, did the hospitals pay for your expenses or did you get a grant?
I got a grant.
A grant from just,
Well, part of it I worked in Hawaii for a while. For that one, they paid me a salary.
wonderful.
Yeah, for 3
you've
months.
done so many wonderful things.
Yeah.
You should make a
I've been-
movie too about your life.
Maybe that's in the cards.
Yes. Well, now, what do you plan to do this coming New Year?
Well, I was thinking, I haven't bought the ticket yet, but down at the Broadway Theater on what's that street? Main Street in Oakland. Is it called the Broadway Theater? No, maybe not.
Oh, I
Maybe
don't
I'm
know.
thinking of something. Anyhow, they're going to have music from the 70s. So there's a whole bunch of groups. And I think I might just get out and do something like that for New Year's Eve. I've never done anything like that. I always stay home.
You always stay home on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, but I think I just might go out.
Well, when you were in some of these other countries, were you there on New Year's Eve?
No.
No.
I don't remember a New Year's Eve. in another
Oh, I
country,
see.
no.
I see.
There were other celebrations, and there
yeah.
were demonstrations,
Uh-huh.
because there were different wars going on and student demonstrations, and I would always try to be there. Wherever the demonstrations were is where I got attracted to.
Were you ever trapped in a country because of war and couldn't get out?
Yes, in El Salvador I was trapped.
Oh, really?
Yes, and there was a state of siege. Could not leave. Couldn't even call anybody. My mom did not know what happened to me. It was very stressful.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was very stressful.
But you got out safe and sound.
Eventually.
Oh, wonderful. Now, we're going to have your granddaughter come back on. We have a
Great.
few minutes before we end the program, so she's
Great.
going to come on. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Excellent.
Boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, don't turn off those TVs. Our wonderful granddaughter is going to come on and join her grandmother before we say goodbye. We'll be back in just a moment. And now Samaya has joined us, and I want to see if she has any parting words before we end our program. Hi. Didn't your
Hi.
grandmother do a wonderful job?
She did.
I'm so proud of her, and I know you are too. Would you like to become a doctor?
It's on my list of things to do.
Uh-huh. But what is your favorite thing that you want to be when you graduate from high school and college?
Writer.
A writer? And do you think you'd like to go away to college or stay here in California?
Think I want to stay.
Uh-huh. Do you think what college you'd like to attend?
UCLA or Berkeley.
Great, great, great. Anything else, Dr. Alexander, that you would like to tell us before we end our show?
I just really want to thank you, Sally, for having this program. It's really beneficial to all the people that watch it, and it's definitely beneficial to us. It increases our self-confidence, and thank you for highlighting Healthy Black Families today, because it's definitely, I think, an organization people should check out, and they can go by and check us out anytime.
Good. Well, I'd like to come by again, and maybe we can do a show there on location.
Of course.
Wouldn't that be great?
It'd be
Yes.
great.
And quickly, could you tell us something about the tax on the sodas that you spearheaded too, quickly?
Well, that's what introduced us to your program, was
Yes.
that time that we came. Yes, I was one of the people who led that effort to organize the Berkeley community to vote for that tax. We got 76.4% of the vote, which was fantastic. And subsequently, it's really doing well.
Great,
And that's what
great.
funds a lot of the work that we do.
Yes. Well, we're out of
So-
time right now. I want to
Great.
thank you both for coming. You did a
Thank you.
wonderful job, and keep up the good work. Let's wave goodbye to our audience. Goodbye, everybody, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.